All right, Tuesday, June 10th. This is the Lion Channel. I'm John. Another fantastic day to be alive. I was thinking about this today. I was in David's live today on his school. Uh, by the way, his school community. I know when I first started making these videos, I had just joined his school, and I haven't really talked about it too much because I was just kind of still feeling it out. But like recently, within the last 2 weeks, I've really started to get like a ton out of it because it is a community of like minded people who are all on this same journey. And we're just all kind of sharing our experiences and our manifestations. So I am going to leave a link underneath. If that sounds like something that you're in a space right now that you may want to expand on what I'm talking about here. And if you're watching David's videos, I'm just going to say for the first time, it's worth it. I think it's like $60 a month to join his school. And so I've paid $120 so far, and it's probably like I've gotten at least 10 times that in terms of return on investment, if you're looking at it that way. All right. But in his school today, I was on his live. He has a live. Uh, he goes over, like a chapter from one of the books that he's read, and then he does a Q&A where people send in questions. But at the beginning of the live, he always asks, how's everybody doing? And he asks you to put a number from 1 to 10. And I basically said, for the first time, I said, I'm always a 10. I thought about it like real quick, and I'm like, I'm always a 10. Like, even on that day that I made a video, talking about how challenging the day was, I'm like, I'm always a 10. Because, and my justification is like, he was in prison for 8.5 years. So if you watch enough of his videos, he really goes into deep description sometimes of how uncomfortable and challenging prison was, how much of a challenging experience that was. And so, when he talks about being out, and now when he, gets caught up in the simulation and like problems, and he starts to get mad and angry about stuff, he just immediately goes back to his time in prison, and immediately he becomes grateful, and just for the moment, like, even if it's an issue that he's dealing with now, he's grateful because he's not in prison. And so that was my answer today. I'm like, I'm not in prison, and I know this is a simulation. Like, I'm creating everything. Like, everything I see in front of me, I'm creating. And so now I'm getting so deep into this. Like, this is day 40 of me making these videos. How many people, like, right off the top of your head right now, or if you want to think about it for a few minutes, how many people do you know could come on here for 40 days straight, not miss a day, and make videos and basically talking about every single day that their life today is better than it was yesterday for 40 days straight? I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I have duties, responsibilities, just like everybody else does. I have in-laws, I have all the same stuff. I couldn't fake it for this long if it wasn't working, is my point. All right. And so I had somebody ask a question, Kate, her name's Kate, and she asked the question after I made the video 2 days ago. And I was talking about how, like, I'm just feeling this love for everyone. Now, some days that's a stronger vibration and frequency. I'm feeling that more than I do, or I feel it more some days than others. Okay. But I'm always feeling love. I'm just loving everybody because, when you understand how all this works and you're like, I didn't know for almost 48 years that this was how it works. Like, whoever you're falling asleep as, whatever state of consciousness you're falling asleep as, you can't act outside of that state of consciousness during the day. So, it's easy to look at people and say, why do they always do this? And why do they always do that? But now that I know that this is how it works, and this is what I just started seeing today, because when I thought about this state of consciousness, even though I'm making these videos, I'm thinking of myself and my state of consciousness and improving my state of consciousness. But now, like I talked about, this is a rising consciousness. Now, today, I just gained access to these new thoughts and this new perspective. Now I'm starting to see my whole world like that. So instead of reacting to people and judging people, now I'm empathizing because most people don't know this stuff. So I understand exactly what's going on. Like, they can't, there's most of the world, they're just acting in the state of consciousness that they've always been in and will remain until they start falling asleep in a different state of consciousness. It's the same for everybody. And I can come on here and say that with authority because of what I just said. 40 days in a row, I'm making videos and my life just continues getting better. I mean, I couldn't put back-to-back days in a row, before this. All right, I would feel maybe, there would be a party or something like that where I'd be like real excited to be alive, but then I'd probably drink too much and the next day I'd be fighting off a hangover. And then you start the week and it's just like, this is like, it's unprecedented for me. And if you're watching and you really thought about that question, it might be unprecedented for you to watch something like this. All right, but Kate asked the question. As I said, I made a video 2 days ago talking about, just how I love everybody now, how my whole perspective has changed. And she asked, like, how I got to that place. And she asked me to go step by step. And I'm like, it would be easier to explain it in a video and really because I could elaborate on certain things. And I know I've talked about this before, but maybe somebody's watching this video for the first time, and the more I talk about it, maybe the more in depth maybe I'll share something that I hadn't shared before, or maybe, like I said, I'm rising consciousness, so I'm gaining access to new thoughts. All right, so I'm going to go through it again and just tell you the first thing I did. The very first thing was I just closed my eyes and watched my thoughts. Okay, I didn't judge my thoughts, and it's very important not to judge your thoughts when you do this, because the whole goal of just closing your eyes and watching your thoughts is to become open to the fact that your inner dialogue and your inner world is creating your external world. Okay, that's the whole point of the exercise. So for 5 or 10 minutes, if you close your eyes and just let your thoughts come in, your thoughts never stop. Okay, so just let your thoughts come in and be what they are, and then just watch them. And you're going to find out, if you do it for 5 or 10 minutes, why your world is what it is. I didn't realize that my thoughts were 95% negative. But for 5 or 10 minutes, I sat there and I watched my thoughts, and I'm like, wow, this is my world right now. This is how I'm seeing the world. Okay? So that was the first thing. Second thing I did was I decided who I wanted to be. Okay, it didn't come to me right away. I had to really, like, I started falling. The first time I fell asleep, and I thought about this today, the first time I fell asleep in the wish fulfilled, my wish fulfilled was really small. I was basically like falling asleep, just trying to picture myself pay off, somebody that I owed money to. Okay. That's where it started. Okay. Because I didn't have access to a bigger vision, and I was in a state where I'm just trying to get a quick fix. Okay. But as I continued to fall asleep in the wish fulfilled, and I continued to listen to David's videos during the day, and my thoughts started to change. And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm limitless, which he says, and if I can, pretty much wish for anything, and as long as I fall asleep in that wish fulfilled, and that's going to come, why don't I think big? Why don't I dream big? Okay. And so I changed my wish fulfilled after the first couple days into the person that I would want to be, into the person that I would want to become. My person and your person might be two different people. Okay. But the person that I love and the person that I wanted to be, I started to fall asleep as that person who has all of the things. Okay. I'm at the house. I'm seeing the people who I would want to be congratulated by. They're telling me about, they're congratulating me on specific things. All right. This way, my subconscious mind is taking notes on that, and I'm impressing the subconscious mind with the house, with these things that the people are congratulating me for, on my success. And so I just started falling asleep with that. All right. And I wrote this stuff down because I didn't want to forget anything. And then the next biggest thing. So that was basically all I did. And then what happened was my world just started to change in terms of from the inside out. Okay. Things that were interesting to me were no longer interesting. And things that weren't interesting to me, all of a sudden they were interesting. And what do you know? These things that were interesting to me before I started falling asleep in the wish fulfilled were things that weren't really gonna take me anywhere. Like watching TV, or just, playing, messing around on my phone, or just basically like doing nothing. But then things that became interesting to me, that started to become interesting: working out, reading, gratitude, all meditation, like these things. All of a sudden I was interested in these things. I always knew they were good for me, but I was never really interested. I wasn't inspired to do them. So anytime I would try to do them, it felt like just like that, trying. I was efforting. I was trying to force myself and motivate myself to do it. I know that things are good for me, but I couldn't do it. And why couldn't I do it? Because you can't act outside of your state of consciousness. That's why, sometimes on here I say there's no free will, because there's really not. Your subconscious is controlling 90+%. Most people say it's like closer to 95% of what you do during the day. So then I started to see this as a simulation. I've made plenty of videos talking about that, how this is a simulation. And so because I'm able to see it as a simulation, and I know that whatever I'm seeing in my world is coming from me, and it's all coming from me. So how can I be mad at anything that I'm seeing? It was my fault. I did it. and I know how to change it. So why am I going to react to something? Okay. And it's coming from an old, and most of the stuff was, especially in the beginning, was coming from old programming. Now I'm starting to see more of what I want because I've been doing this so long. Now it's been 40 days, plus it was 3 or 4 weeks before that. Okay. So I'm really getting into, seeing what I want to see in my external world. And the first things that are starting to change are relationships, health, and then, the financial aspects are changing. Okay. As I said, so, across the board, things have gone from a 2 or a 3 across the board to like 10s across the board. Like each day, I was trying to think of today. I'm like, how could it be better right now? Like my health's great, my relationships are as good as they could be, and getting better and better. I love life. I love what I wake up every day and I just love the experience. I love making these videos and I'm sharing information that could possibly help people. It's like the only thing that really could be improved right now is, like, I guess maybe a bigger house, or like to have like tons of money so I could just go on vacation maybe. But I know that's all here. Like I talked about, I think yesterday. Like I know that's here. And I'm the person that I want to be right now, and it's just getting better. All right? So when you know that you have the power and you know how to create your world, and it's like every day it just becomes deeper and deeper ingrained, why am I going to react to anything? Okay? I know things they're going to keep coming up here and there, probably. That might, for a moment, maybe I react to, but all I got to say is relax. It's just a simulation. Remind myself of that. And then so that, I feel like each day I made that a priority. Like I said, with the necklace here. Okay. That's a constant reminder. And I taped, uh, pieces of paper on my walls, and I listen to David as much as I can, and I'm part of his community, and everyone's talking about. So it's really hard to forget for me, and I'm making these videos talking about it. So it's really hard for me to forget that this is a simulation. Okay. And that is huge. Okay. I do the gratitude that I talk about. I do it every day. I do a gratitude crash course the last 2 months. I talked about that. I do that at the beginning of the month. David suggested that, and I've done it the last 2 months. That makes a world of difference. All of this other stuff, I do the walking meditation every single day. It's part of my non-negotiables, which, by the way, that is something huge that I didn't even have written down here. Having a non-negotiable list. But this was part of the person that is in the wish fulfilled, that I'm falling asleep as. The person I love, when they say they're going to do something, they do it. So so that's why I'm becoming that person. I'm already that person. Like I've been that person since I started making a to-do list. I have non-negotiables I never ever miss. If I mark it on my non-negotiable, I don't sleep unless it's done. Okay. And that is something that I actually heard today that is very important. And I've talked about this before. Like if you say you're going to do something and you're falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, and you say you're going to do something and you miss and you don't do it, like that is really giving the simulation, and it's giving the old you ammo to come back with, as I've talked about before. And your old person at that point could use that against you to tell you, do you really need to fall asleep and the wish fulfilled tonight? Like, why don't you take a night off? You did it the last 2 nights. Wouldn't it be so nice to just fall asleep and not have to, go into your visualization? All right. So I don't even give that a chance to materialize, because anything that I say I'm going to do, I do it. So don't say you're going to do something unless you know 1000% that you're going to complete it. Okay. So that I talked about the walking meditation. Okay. I didn't really go into depth on that, but that has made a huge difference. That's not negotiable. Every single day, I notice a shift every single day after I do it. All right. I'm just in my walking meditation and I'm visualizing. It's different because I'm standing up and I'm walking around, and it's almost like I'm an actor, but I have my eyes closed and I'm visualizing the scene like it's happening. And I do it right in here. I just walk around and I do the walking meditation. That might not work for some people. And like I said, this after falling asleep and the wish fulfilled, everyone at that point, I feel like, is different or could be different. Okay, especially on David's school, like I said, a lot of people are saying different things work for them, okay, that don't work for me. Like there's a couple exercises that people love that I don't do. They don't resonate with me. What I'm doing, that resonates with me and I'm excited to do it each day. If the other stuff resonated with me, I would be excited to do it. But my subconscious, falling asleep and the wish fulfilled, if it was important for me to do, my subconscious would make it seem exciting to me. Okay. And it hasn't. So that's what I'm saying. Depending on the person you want to become, that's going to change what you're interested in. Okay. So, but I have a feeling that gratitude is going to be super important. That's the one thing that, if you really want to change the person that you are and you're not just trying to win the lottery, then love for me is like that's the start of it. Okay, because as I talked about, like when you become the person you love and you start from a place of love, everything that you love will then just gravitate to you. Okay. Another thing I do each day, and this is kind of like knowing this is a simulation, but this helps me. I set a timer for like 5.5 or 6 minutes, and I just close my eyes and I reflect. Like I reflect and I feel myself as knowing that the real world is in the imagination, and even my body is part of the simulation. And so I'm able to like separate myself. I'm not sure when I started being able to do it, but it was just kind of one of those things that I started a couple weeks ago, and I've been doing it ever since. And now it turns into more of a reflection time then, because I already know this is a simulation, but now I've noticed I start reflecting and strengthening the knowing, because I think back to times in my life where, certain things have happened, and now I understand why they happened. And so I make those correlations, and it just strengthens everything that I'm talking about here in my knowing in all of this, especially when I'm thinking about other people and why they're doing what they're doing. I'm like, oh my God, like it's like hidden in plain sight. It's wild. Okay. Another thing I do is like just all day, I'm just, I visualize. I used to set alarms. I don't do it as much anymore because I can just really go into a visualization and just like I can probably stop this video and just close my eyes and take myself to my vision. Like that's how good I've gotten at it. So I don't really need as much practice. Or I don't really feel like I need as much practice because I already feel like I'm that person. It's just like natural. Okay. So, but in the beginning, I was doing that all the time. I was just because David's grandfather said that the more you visualize, the faster you're going to get whatever you're visualizing. Okay. So that's something else. The more you do it, the faster it will happen. And the last thing I just wanted to say is that I'm not sure how many times I've made this point. I said, think of the person you want to become, visualize that, that scene of you at the house, but you want to make it feel. I think I said this with the lottery win. Okay, it's very important that it feels natural when you're visualizing. Okay, so you want it to be a scene like that's after you've already had the thing for months or whatever. Like the climax of the whole thing where you got the promotion and you got the money and you actually became that person. You want to go past that point and think from the end. Like, uh, just to give you an example, you want to be, and this isn't my vision, but you would want to be like just kind of like chilling by your pool, and people walk up to you and are congratulating you on your house, and having all that. So you've already been that person, so it's like it's not even a thing to you anymore. You're just like, oh yeah, yeah, cool. Like that's how you want it to feel, but also at the same time you want it to feel pleasant. So it should be, and I think Neville Goddard said this, it should feel pleasurable. It shouldn't feel like excitement. Excitement would mean that you're thinking of that person. Okay, if you're thinking from that person and imagining you're already that person, it should feel like a natural, pleasant feeling. Okay, so that's really important, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that before, but yeah, that's a really important piece of it. So definitely make sure you're doing that when you're falling asleep in the wish fulfilled. But that's basically it. Okay, that's as in depth as I can go with it. All right, but those first 3 steps, okay, watch your thoughts. That will open you up to this. Okay, it's almost like a glitch. It's almost like seeing a glitch, like the glitches that I talk about on here, that happened even yesterday with the propane truck. Like that's a glitch. Everything that happens out here first had to happen in here. Okay, so you close your eyes, watch your thoughts. That will prove to you, because if you do watch your thoughts, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is my external world right now that I'm seeing. And I didn't even know I was thinking almost all of these thoughts. It's crazy. All right, so that will open you up to it. And then you just decide the person that you want to be, and then just become non-negotiable and your wish fulfilled. Fall asleep every single night and your wish fulfilled. Okay, anyone can do it. It's literally when I found out it was this easy, like when I started to know that, wow, this is working, it was like the best news ever. I'm like, oh my God, this is literally it. This is all I have to do. And then all of these things that I've always wanted to do will just start being interesting to me. It's just, it's the greatest. Okay. So that's it. I love you all so much. All right. And I hope this helps. And have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.